It's always a
Appreciate it.
pleasure, man. I wish we were hanging, but hey, this is what it is. So it's all good. Saves you a drive across the top of the city too, which is really good.
Yeah.
It's funny, about 4 or 5 years ago, I was driving on King Street in Oshawa, and I looked at the corner of King Street and Park Road, which is kitty corner to the Oshawa Center. And I saw what I thought was you. And I thought, that Kim, what's Kim doing here? Tall guy, shaved head. So I opened up my window and I yelled, Kim, buddy, how you doing? The guy turned around and he had a big snake tattoo on the other side of his head.
I had it removed.
So that was you.
Yeah. No, I've been called a lot of different things. Actually, the odd one once was being called Guy Lafleur. Every someone went, Guy! This is when I still had a bit of hair.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then another one, I was asleep on a park bench in London, Ontario, because I was waiting for a meeting, and it was right downtown. There's a beautiful park. I think it's called Victoria Park. I was just kind of asleep on a bench waiting for this meeting. And I heard these schoolgirls go by going, is that James Taylor over there?
That's funny. I can see the Guy a little bit, but James Taylor, nah.
No.
I don't get that.
You can see the Guy Lafleur just a little bit. Okay. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
put a little bit of hair, I had a little bit on the side still. So yeah.
Yeah. So listen, congratulations. The
Thank you.
induction into the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. And your induction was on stage at the El Macambo today. So I'm just wondering if it occurred to you at all that what you experienced this morning came full circle from 45 years ago. Same stage, same building.
Yeah, I mean, we did play there. I spent a lot of time just at gigs there, watching other bands too. I thought it was kind of cool. There I was in that building again. What hit me more, Lee, was the fact that it kind of scared me to think that I wrote my first song almost 49 years ago, and it was on the Isle of Rhodes in Greece. And since that time, I've just sort of had my head down writing songs and looking up for inspiration and stuff like that. But that kind of a whole lifetime has gone by of being a musician, and so many people don't get the opportunity to even be a musician that long, let alone gold and platinum albums. And it just all kind of it kind of came crashing down on me a little bit, this award. Not down on me, but I kind of went, holy smokes. I did make some sort of impression in the fabric of the Canadian music industry with music fans. So wow, that kind of was humbling all of a sudden.
Yeah, you've always had a certain kind of relatability with the fans, and that's part of your secret. And I don't think that's something you can learn. I think that's a gift.
I think we're kind of special, we Canadians. I do. I've often said in some interviews, it's like, what do you think of your fans? I'm like, well, anyone that I've ever met, I don't feel like I could just go for a ride in the pickup truck with them or hang out in their back deck. And, we're all kind of the same here. I just happen to do something a little odd, which is play guitar and rock out. But it's cool too. I'm really grateful, man, for my career, especially today.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw your appearance on Global this morning, and you talked about sitting on your mother's lap when you were 6 years old, seeing Elvis Presley on Ed Sullivan and how it changed your life. And it occurred to me that the same thing happened, but I'm a little bit younger. My life changed when I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. And don't you find it amazing that because of those two instances, not only did they shape generations, but if not for those instances, you and I wouldn't be sitting here talking right now.
Wow, that's profound, man. That's pretty heavy. And because you're right. Like that moment changed me into wanting to be a guitar player. I didn't want to go outside anymore and play tag and kick the can and all the things that young kids did, even though I did here and there. But I was obsessed with music. And My parents said I used to sit in a corner of the dining room where the record player was, and I'd just be playing records over and over and over, like nonstop. So, and same with you, the Beatles. Beatles had a huge influence on me as well. Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, all that stuff is just like, whoa, what's going on? This is just open season for creativity. Like anything goes here. It was beautiful. So you're right. Without those two moments in our life, where would we be, Lee? Somewhere else, right? What,
I hazard to think.
maybe an okay place too, but no, I don't know.
Well, let's shift the conversation then, and we'll get back to some other things that I want to touch on as we move along here. The past year and a half, I think has led a lot of people to sit back and reflect and maybe reassess about thinking how they should go forward when we venture into the new normal, which we're getting closer to. Did you have time to think about that, or did you just sit and think, when can I get back at it again? Did you think about a new career path? Anything that you wanted to do that this gave you the opportunity to try maybe?
That's a good question. When the thing first hit, it was the first time I got to drop my shoulders and take a break. So I was kind of enjoying the first few months, just being at home, because I traveled all the time, and my kids brought my groceries and dropped them at the door. My bubble was very small. It was just myself and the dog. But then it started to hit me. What if I don't ever go back and do this again? And I started just sort of reflect on, what if I don't want to go back and do? What if this goes on long enough that I go, I don't even want to go back? So I don't think I was thinking anything different than a lot of everyone else. Like, we had our days, you have your days of coping okay, and then you have your days where you're not coping so well. And I'm finding that right this period right now, as we're sort of starting to come out and be social again, I find I feel the weirdest right now. Right, I feel like almost like 2 months ago I felt sort of, I got used to it or something, and now it's like, oh, you mean I can go out? What? It just feels a little unusual. I don't know if anyone else is feeling that, but and it's just things are polarized, right? There's people who are on one side, and there's people who are on the other side about the vaccination, and um, how are we going to handle all that going forward?
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to take care of itself, and we're going to figure it out,
good idea.
because we don't
We
have
will.
much of a choice, do we? It's interesting.
That's a good point.
Personally, in the last year, my girlfriend lives in Florida, for example, for half the year. So
I was going to say, all the time, well, that's a long distance relationship, Lee.
yeah, for half the year. So yeah, well, it's half the year. It's a long distance relationship.
Yeah,
But
I like being in a relationship for just a half a year at a time.
well, it's kind of new to me, so we'll see how it goes. But
sure, yeah.
So from November until May, I was literally by myself for the first time in my life, Kim. I was by myself. At the same time, I learned that I was alone, but I wasn't lonely. What was your experience?
That's a good feeling, man. That's an amazing question. I am alone, and yeah, I'm okay with my own company and myself. It wasn't. I mean, you have days where you're like, oh, I'd like to see so and so, or wanted to go see my sister, or. But as far as a relationship goes, I wasn't in one. I had a short term one that was for a little while. It was quite nice. But yeah, I've been okay. Yeah, too. That's a great question, man. Really
Yeah.
good point. Never even looked at it that way. Was I lonely? Probably a few times along the way, like a little bit of a pity party here and there, but
Yeah.
we're okay.
Yeah, I think it's important to be comfortable in our own skin.
Yeah.
It's very,
Yeah.
very important.
Not the case with everybody though, like
No?
it's been a trying time for people, man. Like some people lost it.
Yeah. I was thinking this morning about how proud your mother and father would be. I know that they were proud of you regardless, but when you were 17 or 18 years old and you decided that you wanted to pack your t-shirts and underwear into a suitcase and go to Toronto, the promised land, and find a future in a very, very insecure pursuit, your father probably wanted you to be a dentist. And I wonder how much you reflect on how proud they must be of you today.
Yeah. Well, they haven't been here for many years now,
Mhm.
but you're right on. They're very concerned, a 17-year-old kid leaving home in a small town headed for Toronto, and but things ended up turning out okay. And I always remember presenting them with my first gold record that had Mom and Dad on it. I had
Oh,
Marmade for them. So
oh,
every time I had a gold or platinum record, I presented them with. I go down to Sarn and present them with one too. And so they kind of got the thing that, hey, he's doing okay. But it was my sister this morning who called me after the induction. She said, and I could tell she was filling up almost. She goes, Mom and Dad would be so proud of you at this moment if they saw this was happening to you right now with the whole country, music fans acknowledging this. And I was I almost filled up. And both of us were kind of like having a bit of a missing Mom and Dad moment and how proud they would be.
yeah, yeah. I really enjoyed the performance of On the Road that you did this morning with Ed Robertson from Bare Naked Ladies. Kim, I was reminded today, well, I think I've told you this before, but every time I see you play, I'm always reminded what a wonderful guitar player you are. And secondly, every band writes a song about being on the road, but there are, in my view, or at least only two in my lifetime that I've heard that are as poignant on road life as you describe in On the Road. And it's On the Road and Bob Seger's Turn the Page. On the Road is such a beautiful, uplifting song, but it's melancholy as well. And you were able
It
to
is.
express the words through the music so beautifully.
Yeah, kudos to Pi Dubois on that one. I can remember the day he showed me that, and it floored me. I was like, man, I read it and I thought the same as you. No one's really said it like this. No one. And this could apply to anyone who travels. It's not just about rock bands. It's even the line, I don't need assistance to review the show. When you get bad press, I used to think about Rush on the road all the time, and the bad press they got the first Canadian tour we did. Geddy's voice sounds like blah blah, and I just kept thinking of that line. I don't need it. None of us need assistance to review the show. We know how the show went. You know how your show goes. We know when someone goes out and does something, how well they did, how they feel. So it just floored, the lyric floored me. And I remember kind of saying to Pi, I sure hope I can do this lyric justice, man, because it's kind of blown me away. So I just kind of kept it simple, changes simple, and tried to get a nice melody happening, and worked out. It's one of
Now,
those songs that even now in this decades later, I play it on stage and people, standing up and applauding.
yeah, yeah. And to see Ed get so much joy out of performing it with you, man, you can't buy that.
No, and I told him right away we hadn't played that until about an hour before, and we ran
Oh,
it. Just no kidding. And he starts playing all these other Max Webster songs, like really deep tracks. I'm like, Ed, you're freaking me out. And of course, Ed's an amazing personality, but the way he made that song swing, I said, Ed, you really are making the song swing nice. You have this thing to it. Like, and when he delivered his voice, I said, please sing a verse. And when he did it, I thought, oh, that's such a beautiful take on that. So it was great. And then, of course, Ed off camera, I'm not sure. Yeah, it was off camera. He goes, so when can we wrap this up and start talking about everything that I'm doing?
One of the things I really liked, and it's interesting you point out that you just kind of flew by the seat of your pants this morning, was I could see you two watching each other for cues. And
Yeah,
I was, so that kind of
yeah.
explains something, eh?
Sure. It was really off the top. We ran it once sitting over at the bar at the Elma Combo, and I was like, well, that sounds really good. And then they're like, okay, can we try it? And I'm like, okay. And then, okay, we're gonna do this. I'm like, okay. And so I said, you good? And he goes, yeah, I'm fine. I was probably more nervous than he was. Like, hey man, I'm good. I know all your stuff.
Getting back to Pi for a second, it occurred to me that he was probably in his mid-20s when he wrote On the Road and a lot of the Max Webster classics. To think that that level of maturity came out of somebody that age suggests to me he's a bit of an old soul.
You're right. He would freak me out like that lyrically all the time. And I said, where are you getting this stuff? He says, I listen. That's all he said. He says, I listen. He said, I'm just jamming with the English language and I listen to what people say. He says, people are saying this stuff. You just have to listen. I'm like, okay. But you're right. He sort of got into showed his age once in a while with some of the stuff. Alka-Seltzer Tang at a 50 and it's all over hangover and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of the times it was like, whoa, man, this is grown up stuff.
I was really happy to hear you acknowledge him right off the top today. And the last time we talked, I know that you two were estranged. Have you used this opportunity to reconnect?
I don't know where he is. I have no contacts for him. Actually, as I said in a newspaper article, I don't know what happened or what didn't happen, but it sure did happen or didn't happen. Because I got a letter from a lawyer one day. It says he doesn't want any more contact with me, and I'm not sure what happened to this day. I heard at one point a couple of years ago he had passed away, so I contacted his brother because my sister knows his older brother, and we had a little chat on the phone. I said, and he said, no. He says, I don't think so. He says, but I haven't spoke to him in 23 years either.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't know, what's going on. I love the contribution. I love our writing partnership. As Joe Zawinul. Now, there's a name none of your listeners will know, I don't think, but Joe Zawinul was a keyboard player in a band called Weather Report. And there's a documentary on Netflix right now about a bass player named Jaco Pastorius.
Mm-hmm.
And he says at the end, don't cry because it's over, be happy because it was. So I think that I'm in that space with my relationship with Pi.
In your acceptance speech, you talked about 12 notes. And that music is, I'm paraphrasing, music is a simple thing, but getting it to an audience is another. And you closed your acceptance by saying to aspiring musicians to follow your heart, make the music you love, and the audience will find you. I'll bet you had a lot of whispers in your ears over the years.
A lot of whispers?
Yeah. Tim, this way, no, that way, try this, do that. Too many cooks in the kitchen sometimes.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're asking. Yeah, there was always that. Rush taught me very early on in my career that it's your life, it's your music, it's your band. Listen to who you want to listen to, and the rest you can just nod your head and just go about doing. And at the end of the day, do what you want to do in your heart. That was more from seeing a lady online who was, I think she was in her 50s or something and just starting to play. And she was like, am I too old to start? I'm like, no, like that's kind of what I meant by all that. It's like the 12 notes are there for anyone at any level, at any skill level, at any age to enjoy and have fun. Just like go play hockey. Yeah, so you're not going to be in the NHL, but you can have a great time playing hockey, right? So at any level, any skill level. So that's kind of what I was saying. But you're right. There's been a lot of people along the way with the chatter. Make sure you do this. We need this. I got to do this. It's like Rush taught us early on, like, no, do this.
That's great. That's great. It's funny. In these last couple of days, I've heard anecdotes that I didn't know before, and I've known you for a long time, but there are certain little things that don't know about a lot of your work. That Patio Lanterns you thought was going to be a throwaway. You had a really
Yep.
hard time getting vocal tracks done.
Yep.
And All We Are, another one of your biggest hits, was something that was completely out of your range.
Yep.
But Peter Fredette just happened to stumble in on that around the
Stumble
time.
in. Seriously, Lee, when I wrote that song, when I came to the chorus, all I did was falsetto. I was like that's how I sing it. Like, well, I can't do that on stage, and so I just shelved it. And then, yeah, it's like asked this guy in the studio, it's like, do you know anybody who sings like well, kind of high? And he goes, yeah, I know this guy, Peter Fredette. I'll call him up. Do you want me? Yeah, he's up in Ottawa. Okay, hey Pete, you want to come down and maybe try out for Kim Mitchell's band as a guitar player or bass player or something? Because he played kind of everything. Like, yeah, sure. You sing, Pete? Yeah, a little bit. What?
Such an integral part of the sound of your band for 35 years. You never dreamt that he would be your longest musical partner.
That's right. Kind of like the Edge in U2, kind of like Kenny Greer for Tom Cochrane. Yeah, he's been part of the sound big time.
What's the next couple of months like for you?
Well, I'm not going out playing yet.
Okay, you sound pretty resolute about that.
Yeah, I've told my agent I'm not going out till 22.
Okay.
Unless something fantastic comes along. I just want to wait. I don't want to play a drive-in where cars are honking, and, lights are flashing. And I think rock and roll belongs in a really full shoulder to shoulder. That's the experience that I know and love, and I'm going to wait till that can happen. And it may be, maybe, who knows when that's going to be, but I said 22, I'll start accepting dates. I'm hoping by then everything will be okay.
How are the boys in the band doing? Do they come over and visit?
I had, actually not the boys in my band have been over, but in other bands, we're just starting to be social. We have every once in a while, we call it musicians gentlemen's dinner, that we musicians get together, like Rick Emmett, and there'll be a sax player from this band and a bass player from that band. We've had a couple dinners, and the funny thing is this isn't your demographic, but we all get together and go, okay, everybody, we got 10 minutes to talk about our health, and then we're shelving it. Because we get together and don't talk about music anymore. It's always like families and dogs, and which is cool.
And how is little Webster doing? Where is he?
He's right here.
Oh, what a beauty.
Yeah, he's been a good pal. Yeah, it keeps me real. Because, even though I'm Kim Mitchell Hall of Famer now, he doesn't care. First 15 minutes, he's dropping one in a field and going, hey, Dad, pick that up, okay?
It's a real treat to see you again, bud.
Nice to see you, Lee. You're looking well, man, and glad you got a microphone and a chair.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a chair to sit in and a microphone to talk in. It keeps us alive, man.
Yeah, man. All right.
We'll see you soon.